Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. This week, by request, I am sharing with you guys a few quick tips for getting a job. So, first things first, I am definitely not the expert on this topic. I've had a few jobs, only a couple in the industry, and I'm still in college myself. But I figured I would just try and share a few things that I've learned from the process, what I've learned from knowing a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, and just, share my 2 cents and what I know. And also I think I'll share a couple of sources that I've used that I really enjoy, looking at to learn more, because I know I'm definitely not, an expert here, but I thought I'd share my perspective. So first things first, and it's something, I'm sure you've heard again and again, but use connections. I mean, I think all of the jobs I've had in some way have come from a connection I've had, whether, friends working somewhere and I've been like, oh, cool, and applied when there was an opening, or knowing the owner, things like that. So, use your connections, and if you meet somebody that becomes a connection, don't hesitate. Don't, worry about if you're going to annoy them, whatever. That's a great connection, and the worst thing that can happen is if you go for something and you don't get it. There's so many ways to make connections, and I understand that can, seem like a hard thing to say and, to do. It's definitely a lot easier said than done. But, if you find yourself in a situation where you're like, oh, this is kind of like a connection, it's so easy to be like, oh, but I don't know, whatever. Don't push through that. Because, listen, I get it. I am the same way. But it's worth it to push through that thought, because that's how you get in. And then you kind of work through that and work from there and, grow from that. Okay. So this next tip is something that my dad actually told me. He has, his own company, and so he's definitely got, a lot of experience with hiring and stuff like that. It's not something he does anymore, but one thing that he said was, there are a few things that he's told me, just, I've asked and throughout job search and stuff like that. One is, don't put your picture on your resume. There's a few different reasons why this automatically, kind of can rub people the wrong way or something like that. One reason is that it kind of just looks like a space filler, and so even though it's a nice way to put a face to a resume, so it's not just a piece of paper, it can just seem like a space filler, and a lot of people don't really like that. The second tip he had told me was to know everything on your resume, because in an interview, anything is fair play. So, don't put things on your resume that you can't answer follow-up questions to, because if you've put it on your resume, you're expected to know what you're talking about. And another thing he's told me that I'm kind of putting as tip number 3 is, luck is the product of opportunity and preparedness. So, a lot of times we can look at other people oh, they're so lucky, look at all these things that they have for them, and other times, you feel unlucky because, I don't get anything in this and that, and, I was talking to my dad a few months ago, he was telling me about this, and he said, there are always going to be the opportunities that are coming and going and things like that, and the secret to luck is to always be prepared for those opportunities, to always, look at opportunities and be ready to say yes to them. And my last tip is to ask questions at the end of an interview. And I actually saw somebody on TikTok, I think her account is Self-Made Millennial. I love her videos. She has so many great career advice, tips, videos, and interview tips and all that kind of stuff. I will link her, I think she has a YouTube channel, so I'll link her channel in the description. She is great. I love her videos. She has really valuable advice that's going to probably be a lot better than what I've got to say. So I saw this from her, and it was to ask questions at the end of an interview. And I always like, I'd heard that advice before, like a little bit, but I was always like, but what if you don't have questions? And so I talked to my dad a little more about it, because she actually gave like examples of questions you can ask. And what he said was, when somebody doesn't ask questions at the end of an interview, it kind of leaves the impression that they just don't care about the job. And that made me really understand like why that's so important. Because for me, the types of questions I'm thinking are like, where's the bathroom? You know, just the basic questions. But, you know, Self-Made Millennial talked about questions like, what's the office culture like? What does a successful employee look like? How can I succeed at your company? Those kinds of questions, which makes a lot more sense. And, you know, that makes it shows how much you care. It shows that you really want to be there. So that was, you know, really interesting to me to kind of hear that and understand that. So those are just a few things that I have. I hope that this was helpful. I know that it's not really, again, my expertise, and I'm still so new into kind of jobs and that kind of stuff. But let me know if it was helpful. If there's anything else specific that you'd like to see me do, let me know in the comment section below. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!